Okay, so I just wrapped up my article series talking about the best of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, taking it season by season. Um, and I may have glazed over the actual impact of Buffy the Vampire Slayer on society, on television in general. So I'm going to do a short video essay on my favorite show of all time: the good, the bad, the very bad, and the show's impact as a whole. So let's start with the good. The dialogue in this show is excellent. It's one of those shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender and Psych that helped shape an entire generation's sense of humor and response to things. In fact, it's perhaps the most consistent part of the show. It's the one element that never suffers. Buffy is a very quippy hero, and that keeps the show funny and interesting. Buffy is also very well known for uplifting monologues, and it becomes kind of an ongoing joke in the fandom, but in a good way. The makeup design. So we know I've got to draw attention to the incredible makeup artists that worked on this show. As a show that was largely Monster of the Week in an industry long before actual CGI, the makeup artists that worked on this show not only were incredibly skilled, but amazingly creative. Like, the execution part of the process was flawless every time, and they were arguably some of the most creative people on the production team. Simply one of my favorite parts of the show. Buffy herself, Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yes, the rest of the cast is also fantastic, but I do believe that there are some people that, if you swapped out their roles for other people, the show would have held the same quality. There is no other person that could have played Buffy. Sarah Michelle was a perfect casting choice from day one, and she is a major reason why the show is as good as it is. The themes. The show always did a really good job of using monsters as a way to work through struggles of growing up, going through love, relationships, insecurities, all of that. Buffy was always very grounded as a show, and its connection is very universal and relatable. Let's move on to the bad. Um, the overwhelmingly, how do I say this? The overwhelming amount of rapey ass episodes and vibes in the last 3 seasons. Pretty sure almost every episode Warren appears in has some form of rape or attempted rape in it, and it's not at all necessary. Does it enhance anyone's character arc or the overall story? No. It's something I really hate about the later parts of the show, and that's pretty much explained by that's when Joss Whedon came back. He had moved on from Buffy for a period of time to go write for Angel and get that started and show run over there. When he comes back to Buffy, it gets rapier. Anyway, the entirety of season 5, Buffy goes from fighting monsters, vampires, and demons to fighting a literal god from another dimension. It's just so out of left field and a major jump in the established reality. Also, Dawn's entire existence. She doesn't add anything to the story or the group other than being majorly annoying and whiny. It's just not necessary, and you can see the shift from that to back to super grounded in season 6 when the big bad is just these 3 fucking nerds fucking with Buffy. Like, that tells me that the audience, or the original audience as the show was airing, didn't love it either. They tried something. I feel they jumped the shark a little bit. It was not good. In fact, I never watched season 5 on my rewatches. It is a full skip season. Okay, let's talk about the impact of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Along with the incredible amount of Buffy the Vampire Slayer references in other media, from Gilmore Girls to Xena, from Charmed to Smallville, Friends, Supernatural, The Simpsons, True Blood, Castle, Heroes, Vampire Diaries, Big Bang Theory, This Is Us, The Magicians, Ginny and Georgia. Buffy's presence is still very felt in the bones of pop culture. But it's more than just a reference in other TV shows. The show had structural impacts to the entire industry. It inspired the whole new era of Doctor Who. Russell T Davies cited Joss Whedon and Buffy the Vampire Slayer as inspiration for the structure of the new Who series. The show pioneered LGBTQ representation in mainstream television. Willow and Tara are still one of the most iconic couples in television, and the show was threatened with cancellation if Joss didn't break them up. He refused, and our favorite lesbians became one of the first queer couples allowed to exist on screen, which leads into a bad trope that I is going to be a whole different video. Just know that I know that it also caused a problem. Um, it was literally one of the first shows to not only follow Monster of the Week, like the Monster of the Week format, but also have an overarching like big bad that all of the episodes in the season kind of built to as well. Shows like Supernatural, Lost, Scandal, and Justified also followed this format. Obviously, the turning the pretty blonde dies first trope on its head. Normally in horror settings, the pretty blonde girl gets killed off first and rather quickly. Having her be the one to have the power to hunt the monsters was in itself brilliant. And it changed the scope of television and film forever. I can already hear the boomers screaming, "But alien!" at their screens. But here's the reality. All the strong female characters at this time were written as men with boobs. There was no femininity, there was no feminine experience informing them at all. That changed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. All the incredible female characters you love now are thanks to Buffy. Buffy the Vampire Slayer changed the scope of television as a whole. It has impacts that we are still feeling today, and for the most part, the series holds up. The creator of it doesn't. And to be fair, his involvement was always problematic, and the real person we should thank for the show's best parts is Marty Noxon. Either way, I am very aware that the show has its flaws, but very much of what television is now is owed to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So its quality may be debatable, its impact is not.